Okay, here we are. Alt.nerd.obsessive. Worst episode ever.
Hey everybody, welcome to Worst Episode Ever, a podcast for people who love The Simpsons by people who love The Simpsons about how much we hate The Simpsons. We are on a mission to find which episode is the worst episode ever. My name is Dan.
My name is Jack, and this is definitely our first take doing this introduction.
Yes, absolutely. And right at the top of the show, we want to thank everybody for downloading and listening to the show so far and supporting us. Thank you for your reviews on iTunes. We really, really appreciate them. If you haven't left an iTunes review, we would love it if you did so. A 5-star review would be great. A 4-star review would be less great. And that's it.
And we'll end it there.
And end it there. So thanks everybody for listening. This is our first show of 2015, Jack.
Oh, happy 2015.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
We're in the future now.
Yeah. Ooh.
I know, 2015 sounds...
Fruit plays.
Yeah, we're in Back to the Future 2 now.
Yeah, that's kind of...
We took our hoverboard to the old recording studio here.
I remember watching it as a kid and being like, wow, when it's actually 2015, I'm going to be such an old man.
I know.
Doing such old man things.
And here we are doing our old man podcast. The Simpsons used to be better when we were younger. Yeah.
Oh, my God, it's true.
We're wearing our hypercolor hats and watching Jaws 19. So thanks, everybody, for downloading the show. Hey, if you haven't checked out our new website, we have a new website. If you go to the old website, it'll take you to the new website. But just in case, you can go to weepodcast.com. That's WEE podcast.com. Check it out. We got some, that's where we have the rankings for the episodes, and show notes are there. You can listen to the episode there, obviously. Maybe you are right now.
It's nice. It's a pretty website. And I noticed there's like this thing in the corner now. That says
There's a new thing in the corner.
Yeah.
Very perceptive of you, Jack. Yes, today's episode is brought to you by Amazon.com. Everyone shops on Amazon. All you have to do is do your normal shopping on Amazon, but first, there's a catch. You got to go to our website first and click on the Amazon banner on our website. It's on the right-hand side of the page, and click through and then shop like you normally would. It helps the show. It'll help us keep churning these out.
Right. So like Valentine's Day's coming up, so I want to get something from my girlfriend. So you're telling me to go to wepodcast.com, then go to Amazon through there.
That is exactly what I'm telling you, Jack.
All right.
It's that easy.
Okay.
I'm a little under the weather, so I may sound a little bit different, so hopefully it's not unlistenable. Do I sound like Fran Drescher?
You normally sound like Fran Drescher, so
I know.
now you don't, and that's why I was like, what's going on?
Well, I mean, I was just a girl from Queens, and I like The Simpsons. I'm working for Mr. Sheffield.
That'll be our nanny podcast.
You know what? The Nanny was a great show. I'm not being ironic right now. I've seen every episode of The Nanny.
It was enjoyable.
Okay,
I'll give you that.
My love for The Nanny is not matched by many other heterosexual men my age. But anyway,
There was a good episode with Mr. Sheffield on Jeopardy. We are going off track.
we're way off track. We'll save that for the Nanny cast.
Of course, yeah.
Over the bridge from Flushing. So yeah. So Jack, what episode are we watching today? Let's get back on track talking about The Simpsons.
We are doing an old one from season 12, which is 14 years
ancient.
ago.
Yes.
Yeah. Homer versus Dignity. A lot of people have been suggesting this one in particular.
Yeah, this one is one of our most heavily requested episodes. People really do not like this episode.
Yeah, the Prank Monkey episode.
Yeah, the Prank Monkey one. It's from season 12. It aired November 2000. So yeah, it's over 14 years old at this point.
Wow. And so yeah, if we lost you a little bit with our nanny tangent, apparently this episode has a panda rape. So
Yes, it does.
So stay tuned.
That's basically the only thing I remember about it, because I remember I watched it when it was first on, but I think I've only seen it once, and it was just 14 years ago.
I didn't remember that, and I didn't know what people were talking about, and eventually I was like, oh, I vaguely remember. But we'll get into that.
We'll get into that. We're gonna relive it pretty soon here.
It's funny. This is like our first normal episode in like a month, because we did our Drunken New Year's last week. 2 weeks ago we did our Christmas Grimble.
Yep.
And before that we had our episodery.
Yes, our 10th episodery.
So it's nice to get to just tone it down a little bit.
We're getting back into our normal groove here.
So there's no games later, no silly
games.
stories.
We're not going to do stories today.
I've got this really good story I wanted to tell about in 5th grade when I lost my innocence, but
I kind of want to hear that story. Maybe we'll say that off the air.
Okay.
We're going to watch Homer vs. Dignity. We're going to take a break right now. If you have not watched it yet, you can watch it on thesimpsonsworld.com. We have a link right to the episode on our podcast website, which is wepodcast.com. And we'll be back after this break watching Homer vs. Dignity.
And remember, shop on Amazon, but through us.
Shop on Amazon through us.
hurl this at that.
At Lenny, but he's a war hero.
Well, let's decorate him then.
No.
Not even for $4?
Hey,
Ow, my eye! I'm not supposed to get pudding in it.
No, that was capital. My lung is aching.
I liked when I threw the pudding.
Do it again. I'll make it an even 8.
You're the boss.
Ow! I'm in hell!
Let's keep the laughs coming, eh, Simpson? Let's say I make you my executive in charge of recreation. No, better yet, my prank monkey.
All right, so that was Homer versus Dignity.
Oh, yes.
Very dignified episode.
Somewhat.
All right, real quick before we get into it, I guess quick recap. So let's see. It starts off with Bart. They're having dinner for Bart.
Yep.
Because he got a happy first
Happy first
day.
A.
Yeah.
I like that.
He got his first day.
Yep.
But that was basically all just a big prelude to finding out that Homer's having financial troubles, which
happens quite a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not really that.
Not an original start.
Surprising,
Yeah.
But and it was just they devoted a lot of time to it, and then it kind of just cuts away to Smithers has to leave town to do his play, his
musical based on Malibu Stacy. Yeah.
So he does that. So Burns is kind of lonely and bored, and eventually he and Homer connect, and he pays Homer to do pranks. Sort of. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
And then basically Lisa finds out. And the question comes down to, can Homer put a price on his dignity? Can he do these things for money? And he decides in the end, of course, that he can't, and he gives up the money, in exchange for his dignity.
Yes.
So it's a very straightforward episode.
It is, which is refreshing, especially since the last one we watched was How I Met Your Mother, which was all over the place, and it was just a mess.
And you talk about the episode or our podcast?
Both.
But what's funny is somewhere in our drunken rambling last week, we mentioned that a lot of the HD era episodes we've been doing have been A plot only, no B plot, which is we were surprised.
Yeah, this one was definitely all A plot.
Sort of, yeah, because it has if you want to consider the financial thing a B plot, but they're very much intertwined. It's not like let's cut away to this story.
I mean, the financial thing was just Homer needs money.
Yeah.
Which was kind of the through line through the entire episode. And then the way he does it is he becomes the prank monkey, and then he realizes the money is not worth the lack of dignity.
So it's surprising that this is an old episode. This is season 12.
Season 12, yeah, 2000.
Very singular. We've been just catching a lot of A plot. Maybe there aren't that many. I mean, I can think of several episodes where they have awful B plots like that. The doorbell one.
Yeah, I actually thought that was this episode at first. I don't know why.
It's a Super Bowl episode, right?
No, I don't. Is it? No,
that's the one where they make the egg.
Episode. That's they make Vincent Price's Egg
like
Magic,
a Marge and Lisa,
which was not great.
Yeah.
But overall, I like the Super Bowl episode a lot.
Yeah, but they do have these really weird
Well, because
essential
sometimes
B-plots.
the main storyline is Homer and sometimes Bart are doing something like, what can we do with Maggie and Lisa and Marge? And they just get shoved off into some weird thing like egg magic.
But then you have an episode like this that says, we don't need to do anything. This is a Homer story, which is fine.
Right.
You have 600 episodes. You can devote one to Marge, one to Lisa. They don't all have to be about all of them.
That's true, though I am realizing Marge was really barely in this episode. She really didn't have much of a presence.
Yeah, I didn't think about that until we said it out loud just now. But yeah, she's barely in it.
Because Bart kind of begins the episode. We begin the episode. We'll talk about it in a second, I think, about how it starts off. Yeah. But Bart starts us off, and then Lisa is kind of the voice of reason to Homer later on.
Maybe it should have been Marge. If Lisa makes sense as the voice of reason. She's the precocious, genius in the family.
Yeah.
And she's the one with the most soul. So I guess it speaks to Homer selling his soul. But I would have been interested on what Marge thought about this whole dignity thing.
What about this? I agree with you. I agree with you completely. But what about this? What if Marge became the prank monkey? That's an interesting episode.
That would have been much more interesting because
you expect Homer to do these ridiculous things.
It wasn't that. We'll get into a lot of these specifics, but right off the bat, would you say this was a good episode? I don't think I thought it was that funny. It had lots of individual strong jokes, but as a whole, it wasn't floored.
I did kind of like this episode, at least in comparison to some of the crap that we've watched in the recent past.
Right.
I think that a lot of this was pretty funny to me, and I like the fact that it's just one somewhat coherent plot.
Yeah.
It was around the edges, like some individual jokes. I was just like, it had no reaction to me, which we can talk about them. But it's definitely like, okay, season 12 is the moment that this show is starting to lose its real luster.
Although Battlestar Galactica was season 11.
That's true. Yeah, 11, 12. I mean, around the turn of the century there is when The Simpsons...
All right, well, why don't we get into it? So
Let's do it.
Let's talk about that very first scene with the...
Right, so Bart gets an A in astronomy of all things, and we commented as we were watching it that makes sense because Bart has discovered a comet.
You'd think that discovering the comet would have gotten him an A.
You'd think so, yeah.
But apparently he just got it because... And they don't really explain... Oh, yeah,
No,
they
they explain a little too much.
Yeah, so basically... Miss Krabappel and Skinner have sex in the classroom.
On Martin's desk.
On Martin's desk, and Bart has to hide in the closet, and to get his mind off of hearing them have sex, he stares at a poster of the planets and memorizes. And I guess the A was in the names of the planets, because that's all there was.
Yeah, right. It was just a test on the name of the planets.
Since we're doing old Simpsons episodes, this episode's pretty dated, because Pluto is not a planet anymore.
Right. That's right.
So, just pointing
it out. You would have
got
a B+, Bart.
You think
these days?
Maybe they could do like a George Lucas remaster where they take out the my very educated mother's told me, whatever the hell it is. I don't know. I already forgot the planets.
You've clearly forgotten the planets.
I've forgotten the planets.
They're gonna go back and add in CG creatures that are in the room with Bart while he's studying the planets.
But so he memorizes the planets.
He memorizes the planets so he doesn't have to listen to Skinner and Krabappel having sex. What do you think of that?
All right. Do you want to talk about this now? Because
I think let's talk about it now.
This is a thing that was throughout the episode. I think, in particular, and I don't know if this is season 12 because we've only watched maybe one other episode from season 12 so far.
Pokemon.
So I don't know if this is indicative of the season or not, but definitely this episode, a little on the raunchy side. Lots of not just sex jokes, but dirty sex jokes.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, Homer, God, that would be a completely different episode. No, Skinner and Miss Krabappel having sex, that's one thing. We know that they're in a relationship.
Right.
And it did remind me of Grade School Confidential, because I was like, last time they were in the closet, now Bart's in the closet.
Right.
Anyway, but we do hear them having. First of all, it's just more explicit than usual, because they're like, let's do it on Martin's desk. It's cleaner. That's a little more visual.
Skinner says, "Come on, Edna, don't be tardy."
Yeah, exactly.
That's a little.
You actually hear them having sex, and even though it's clean, it's a little more like they're pulling the curtain back a little bit more than I would have liked.
It's more Fox than the show usually is.
And then we're gonna jump ahead a little bit here, but there's several examples of this. But the episode. I mean,
there's one big example.
Yeah, we'll get to
the most infamous thing in this episode.
I'll save that for. I'm talking about something else. But
okay.
All right. So also, Mr. Costington later makes a shoe sniffing joke.
Yeah, that was weird.
And that's like a weird fetish that kind of does. I could see that on Family Guy, but maybe not The Simpsons.
Yeah. When he's like, I had a weird foot. No, what was the line?
He likes he has a shoe sniffing problem.
Yeah, right.
Which is innocent. It's not innocent, but it's not raunchy. It's just the word shoe sniffing. But if you think about it,
it doesn't hurt other people. Whatever you like to do.
But if you think about it, it's kind of it's not what you'd expect from Simpsons. The classic episodes, I don't think it had shoe fetish jokes. So you have that.
You don't remember that classic shoe fetish joke from Bart the General, where Herman was sniffing Marge's shoes?
You have Comic Book Guy makes a joke about he's eating all the peeps. And he says, if only chicks went down as easy. And that's an oral sex joke.
Oh.
Yeah. That's not...
I didn't get that at all.
Comic Book Guy making a joke about how he's a nerd and he can't get laid is one thing. But to make an explicit going down on joke on The Simpsons...
I didn't get that at all.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's what they meant?
I think that's exactly what they meant. And that's what I'm saying. These are all examples where they're not that raunchy, but they're raunchier than they used to on The Simpsons.
That's pretty raunchy, I think.
For The Simpsons, definitely.
That completely went over my head.
My Family Guy would have said, like, give him blowjobs to,
Yeah, and then they were going to cut away to, like, a woman, like, falling down or something.
Right. And then there's two more. There's the infamous Panda Rape scene, which we will go into a little bit more later.
There's a lot to talk about with Panda Rape.
There's also, and this is another thing we've talked about, when we don't like Moe as sexual predator, he makes a pro-rape comment when the male panda is forcing himself upon Homer.
Thinking Homer is a panda.
Moe says, he goes, "You ain't going nowhere, cutie." And it's just like, he's rooting for the rape. He's basically like, rape.
Moe's a sleazy guy.
Which I like.
Which I like too, but that crossed the line into just like, oh,
Yeah,
Mo's
you know,
like
cheering for rape isn't just crossing the line. It's just like the line's not in the horizon anymore.
Yeah, you're just there's a difference between like having this weird back room where you're selling pandas,
Yeah.
and then like cheering on one panda raping another.
And this is an older episode, so like we talked about how maybe they don't do nearly as many table reads as they used to, because they used to do tons. And I just can't imagine this being read in front of these actors, like maybe if it was, I don't think it was the same writing staff. This was a Mike Scully era.
Yeah.
But like, especially these actors, being read at the table read that many times without somebody going, "Isn't that a little much?"
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
at this point, they probably were just on autopilot and stopped caring.
I guess it just went through because they were on autopilot, just slipped through under the radar. Like it just, I don't know. I don't want to sound like old prudy.
Yeah, I mean,
Jack
we don't know what the hell they're
But
doing in the writers' room.
It was, it was funny-ish because it was Mo, but it's really like blatantly pro-rape, and you can't really defend the phrase pro-rape.
Yeah, I mean, it's animal rape as far as Mo knows.
That's the only reason you can get away with it, and it's
Which-
Homer being assaulted. But
yeah.
can you imagine if it was like? Well, I'm not gonna get into that. But
Where were you gonna go with
I
that?
just like if it's Mo cheering on rape. It's just
I know
really
it was
uncomfortable.
It made us both feel gross.
Yeah.
And I didn't care for it.
So, long story short, I just feel like this episode had a lot of examples like that where it was kind of over the line. It was just bluer than usual.
Yeah. Well, thinking back to Pokemon, that episode had some latent sexualness
That's what I was
going on.
gonna
I mean, we
say.
titled our episode about it, Back to the Sexual
Exactly,
Thing.
and here we are, back to the sexual.
Here we are, back
That's
to
what
the
I was gonna say
sexual
is
thing.
I don't know if it was this episode specifically or this season, because the only other example we have from this season is Pokemon, which we both liked. But yeah, it was a little bit more sexual. So maybe this is indicative of the Mike Scully years, and we'll figure this out as we watch it. Maybe the show was a little bit more.
Mike Scully just loved sex
Loved the
jokes.
sex jokes in his.
And then Homer gets raped by a panda.
Although he was not running the show when Marge did Playboy. So
Right. Well, I don't know whose blame that falls on. Whose feet that.
So
Anyway.
although the writer of this episode, I looked him up to see maybe he's just like a perv who
Right. He's got a foot fetish and wanted to work that into an
g-
episode.
Gosh darn if I didn't already forget his name. But what was interesting was that he wrote the Halloween episode.
His name is Rob Lazebnik.
Oh, there you go. So he wrote the Halloween episode either that season or the season before. That season. He co-wrote the season Halloween 11, Treehouse of Horror 11. He wrote that. He wrote this, and then he didn't write anything else until season 20. And now he's been a fairly consistent writer since, which is just a weird. That has nothing to do with sex jokes. It's just kind of weird. He also was a big writer on Empty Nest.
Oh,
Yeah, so-
that's a classic show.
Also known for its raunchy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, remember that scene where Estelle Getty was guest starring as Sophia, and they had that whole but it was okay because it wasn't people. It was Dreyfus was raping Richard Mulligan in a dog suit. So this is all on our Empty Nest podcast, by the way.
Flew the coop.
Yeah, or maybe we'll do a crossover. We'll do Life Goes On, and so do we.
If you don't know what Empty Nest is, that was part of the theme song of the show.
How do you not know what Empty Nest is?
I barely remember
That's a
Empty Nest, I'll
rhetorical
be honest.
question. It's a rhetorical question.
It was on in the 80s.
It was a spin-off of the Golden Girls. And
Yes,
it
it
was
was.
awesome. Laverne was great on it. And the later seasons where he works in a clinic and they had Roz from Night Court.
And she was playing Roz from Night
No,
Court?
she
Or-
wasn't.
No,
She was-
okay.
I don't remember her real name.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
her,
yeah. I don't know, I
or her
bet.
character.
Was she,
Marsha Winfield, maybe.
Okay, could have been.
Kind of a tangent here.
Yeah, let's keep talking about
Let's
Night
keep
Court for a
talking
little
about
bit.
Night Court and Empty Nest.
Harry Anderson was such a great judge because he worked at night and he did magic tricks.
We're going to get a Facebook message for that one. Just stop going to Night Court talking about The Simpsons.
I thought you were going to say Harry Anderson's going to contact us and be like, oh, some praise. Harry Anderson's still alive, right?
Yeah, he's a magician.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
on that
Magi-
great 30 Rock episode where they had the half Night Court reunion.
So, what we're
Did they
talking
get Bull back? I don't think they got Bull. Anyway, cut all of this. Let's go back to talking about Homerverse dignity. So yeah, this episode was a little more sexual than would be expected from that
Right.
time. But I actually thought the start of this episode was pretty strong.
Yeah, so
At least, individual things I didn't love, like
Right.
the fact that you hear Skinner and Krabappel having sex.
Well,
some of the individual jokes, but yeah.
like you said, it's really the episode is about Homer's financial woes.
Right, and we start with that right away.
Right, and that's tied in throughout that's the motivation. Which it is a word that I don't know if we've ever actually said on this podcast before, which is basic writing 101. But
yeah,
it's
we
his
understand what
motivation.
Homer wants.
Yeah, and it was just really nice. They did not only did they set it up, but they didn't even set it up with one scene. They set up a whole scenario and then kept with it the whole time. Like if this was a season 24 episode, it would have just been Burns bumps into Homer in the hallway and goes, "I want you to be my prank monkey," and Homer goes, "Sure, why not?" You know, assuming Homer still works at the power plant, which in the HD era he doesn't usually. He's usually just not there. It's long become a joke. We're like, shouldn't you be at work? And now they don't even say that. Now it's just he's not at work.
His job is whatever it is that week.
Yeah, but they wouldn't even bother giving character motivation for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see that.
It was definitely nice to see that. And it was nice
to see it done reasonably well.
And I thought it was done well, and I thought there was a lot of funny stuff in the beginning.
The best jokes are the poor jokes.
Right, the happy first A thing, that was funny. Homer shining, or Lisa says that I never got a medal and I get A's all the time, and you gave one to Bart, and then Homer's polishing it and he just goes, "Love you," which was kind of a loving whisper, I guess.
I wasn't crazy about that joke because it did feel kind of, maybe I didn't realize it was a whisper. Maybe that's it. It just felt kind of new era-ish to me.
It's that Homer voice that we don't like.
Yeah. But it was funny because it was
funny, even though if it was just basically the same thing as from Lisa on Ice.
I love when the credit card, when his credit card gets declined, and it's like using that old red digital ink, and it's just, was it Deadbeat?
Deadbeat. Yeah, that was good. And then I like, he's like, "Oh, let me try one of my other cards," and he just throws them in the waiter's face and then runs.
That was really well animated.
Yes.
It was just well executed.
And then I loved, they did the same thing later when Homer has to pay the financial planner, and I thought it was a good callback. It was very funny.
When they did it the second time, I was like, man, they just didn't know how to end this scene, and it was kind of lame. But because it was such a funny callback, they got away with it.
Yeah, I thought it worked. Jinx.
I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, there was another line in that same scene that I thought in the opening birthday dinner. I keep calling it birthday. First day. First
day. Yes.
The first A dinner. There was another funny line I thought could fit in the classic era where Bart explains that he studied the planets so intently. That's why he did, and he said it was like a different kind of cheating.
Right, the answers are in my head.
Yeah, like the idea that that's such a great Bart character.
Right, Bart doesn't even understand what studying means.
Yeah, that he still thinks that's cheating.
Yeah,
it was very very poignant, like very smart Bart character line.
Yeah, I loved it. That was good.
I just wish there were more of those.
Yep. Don't you remember in What to Expect when Bart's expecting, when there were all those poignant character lines?
The voodoo stuff, you mean?
Yeah, oh yeah. I didn't love... So here, this didn't make any sense to me. They can't pay their bill, so they have to work as a mariachi band for the restaurant.
Which we've already established has more classically trained singing waiters in it. And
it was just the waiters sing.
It was the Gilded Truffle, wasn't it?
No, it was the singing sirloin.
Singing sirloin.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess you can... They don't say what kind of singing.
But as far as we know, only Lisa plays a musical instrument.
Right, Homer suddenly can play guitar and, and the rest of them.
Let's say you're the proprietor of this restaurant and these people can't pay and you're like, well, you have to be a mariachi band. Is that the first thing you go to?
I mean, I guess that's the joke, but...
I know, but we just overthink things as we are wont to do.
But it was awful. I mean, if it was funny, we would overlook it.
Right. It didn't make sense because it's not a Mexican restaurant. There was no mariachi music prior to that scene, and there was nothing that made sense in context.
It wasn't fun. And Homer, what was the joke? Homer gets more, sings more...
They're like, oh, you have to play with soul, and he, sings a little ditty or something.
It just felt like...
I honestly don't remember it. It was not worth mentioning.
That felt like the more middle season, the middle for our era.
Yeah.
Like the late teens, where they kind of get self-indulgent with the actors get self-indulgent and the writers kind of... They're just like, wouldn't it be funny if Homer sings with soul? And it was like, well, it wasn't fun for us, the viewers.
No. But I hope Dan Castellaneta had a great time singing it.
I'm sure, yeah, good for him.
Good for him. The man deserves it.
He was in Space Jam.
He was in Space Jam?
Yeah, he sits next to when the Monstars are wearing a trench coat and pretending to be sitting in the basketball crowd.
Oh, wow.
And it's the wife from Everybody Loves Raymond and Dan Castellaneta. And they're just like, oh, what's up with this weird guy? Even though they don't realize it's the Monstars in a trench coat, obviously.
Yeah, of course. I wonder if he did any voices in Space Jam, because he does a lot of voices.
I'm sure he did, yeah.
He was the voice of Michael Jordan. Yeah, and then so they leave the restaurant and they're in the car, and it's just joke after joke of how poor they are. Homer had to sell the back seat and the floor.
I love that joke. I remember we were surprised at how much we remembered from this one.
Yeah, I haven't seen this in so long, and I was like, oh, I remember this.
Yeah, a lot of them really stuck with us, and that one, if I don't bring it to mind every day, like I have certain jokes that I always use.
Yeah.
But that one just kind of I don't think about it a lot, but I remembered it. I love that joke. It's just another great visual, very well animated episode.
And then another kind of classic thing, just a very smart kind of joke. When Marge says, "When did we become the bottom rung of society?" and Homer says, "I think it was when that cold snap killed all those hobos."
That's such a dark joke.
Oh, it's super dark,
but it's so funny. It's
The Simpsons have had a long-standing tradition of talking about hobos and featuring hobos with bindles. I like that line, even though it implies hobo death.
like a lot of hobo genocide.
Yeah.
But it was just Homer. Like the delivery of the line was great, and the idea that like they were just above hobos. And
Yeah, right.
Now that all the hobos are dead.
It's like, there they are at the bottom rung. At least you didn't have Moe coming in and being like, yeah, get those filthy hobos.
Yeah, they should kill them all.
And then rape them. No,
Oh my god,
that's dark.
it's deserved.
So yeah,
Before we move on, I guess there was one line in that dinner scene too that I didn't find funny, and I thought it was very typical new era Simpsons.
Is it the waiters singing?
No, I actually like the waiters singing when they go up on the last note, and
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that kind of stuff, but it was
They went, "They're getting away, stop them, Mary Kay."
Oh, that I didn't like.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
There was a line I didn't like where they go, "Oh, Bart's an honor student," because apparently 1A gets you
Yeah,
an
right.
honor roll. So Marge goes, "I'm gonna get a bumper sticker that shows everybody that my kid is an honor student."
Right.
And like the joke was on those bumper stickers, "My kid is an honor student," and the joke was that they were pointing it out by saying it as literal as possible, which can be funny when you do "this is the literal." This
Like
is
an
why.
anti-joke kind
Yeah,
of thing.
exactly.
It didn't work for me. I was just like,
and
that's...
for some reason, it was just they do that a lot now, and it's usually not funny, and it wasn't funny here. It's just like, well,
Yeah.
all right, maybe there's a joke you can get out of the bumper sticker thing.
Right.
Maybe they're like, oh, now we can replace this bumper sticker that says like my son is a C student, but something funnier than that.
That would have been funny, and they could have cut to the car and like shown that, like, oh, I could have replaced my old bumper sticker, and then it's like a cutaway,
Yeah.
and you see
or the
like
bumper stickers made out
a
of
bunch of old
Lisa's
bumper stickers or something.
something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Something like. But
Yeah.
The anti-joke didn't work there.
No, I agree with you.
That was my nitpick of the next 3 minutes.
Now that our son is an honor student, I'm going to get one of those bumper stickers that informs strangers of that fact.
Just a cotton picking minute. I've been getting A's since Gymboree.
What do you want, a medal?
You gave Bart one.
Love you.
Yeah, I want to just talk about the financial planning scene for a second. First of all, Homer says, or Marge says, somebody says we need to see a financial planner, and Homer says, a financial panther, and he has like a daydream of a panther mauling the debt collector.
Which was fine.
That was funny. I didn't realize that was from this episode. I thought that was an earlier one, because I always think of financial panther.
Apparently, a lot of these jokes we remember being from other episodes
Yeah,
for some reason.
I don't know. We don't want them to attribute them to this bad episode, so we're like, oh no, surely it's from a good episode.
Our subconscious is
subconscious,
retconning the
exactly.
Simpsons. That's fine.
But yeah, so basically they go to a financial planning office, and Lindsay Naegle runs like some simulations
Is that
or whatever.
her name?
Yeah.
She's a recurring character.
Yeah, from
I see her around.
Realty Bites. I think was her first episode.
Okay. See, so she's a season 9.
She's a season 9.
newbie.
She just squeezed in, just like Gil.
So that's why I'm not as familiar with her.
Yeah.
I mean, I recognize her. She's in a lot.
Yeah,
of
she's in it
episodes.
constantly. She was
I
in
didn't know she had a
the
name,
in
though.
Mensa when they took over the town.
Oh wow.
But anyway,
I want to stick
you wanna
with this.
talk-
I'm sorry.
let's talk about it.
Is she a good character?
she's an okay character. I mean, she's just like businesswoman.
Because
Is her
Lindsay
entire
Naegle's
character.
not a very fun name. That seems so un-Simpsons-y.
Yeah, I mean, it's not comic book guy. It doesn't say what she is.
Right.
Krusty the Clown.
No, I mean, like, I don't know. I guess just I'm unfamiliar with her. It doesn't seem like a Simpsons name to me, like Seymour Skinner or Reverend Lovejoy.
Right. Well, I mean, most of those characters' names came from, I think Matt Groening is from Portland,
Right.
or somewhere around Portland, and he took like
Street
like
names.
Terwilliger Street is
Yeah.
a street he knew, so that became Satchel Bob's last name.
All
and-
right, I'm being unfair to Lindsay Naegle. I'm
You
sorry.
really are.
I just
Stop the Lindsay Naegle hate.
anyway. So she's a financial planner.
Yes, so she's a financial planner, and she basically just tells Homer, "You need more money."
Yeah.
But this was like a 2-minute scene.
Yeah,
It was just to reiterate that Homer needs more money.
Yeah, like the joke was, oh, I can't help you. That's a financial consultant. And now
Right.
give me my fee. So like the joke was that she was useless, but you're right. That scene was kind of pointless. Although it did have the earlier they show the Wiggums talking to their financial planner.
Oh, yeah.
and they talk about where he's hoping to get shot on his last day before retirement.
They call it retiree.
And I remember that joke all the time, and I didn't know it was from this episode.
Yeah, that's a good gag.
So it's
But-
funny. This episode has all these
But it's just
one-liners.
overall that scene, she shows them a simulation of what's going to happen to them, and they just get more old and decrepit because they don't have any money.
and that's a classic Simpsons gag,
Well, it is, but it
like
worked.
Lisa's tooth.
Exactly, like Lisa's tooth, but that was funny because it was so ridiculous because the giant tooth like went through Lisa's
Right,
head.
right.
This was just they just were like bending over and Homer's like, "Marge, your posture." And it's just like
and there's also, for whatever reason, they have a CG, a computer simulation of old Nelson, saying
kicking
"haw, haw" on. It's like, how do they know who
Kicking
Nelson
Homer's
is?
grave. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a meta joke. That's
Right.
Which
that kind of worked, but like having this whole 2-minute scene, especially when getting to the end of the episode, I thought it ended very abruptly.
yeah.
Why do that? Why waste the time up front when it would pay off more at the end?
We get like if you cut that entire scene out,
You don't
and
lose anything.
Yeah, because then it cuts to Burns saying, "Hey, I'll give you $4 to throw pudding."
Right, and we already know Homer needs
And
money.
We know he needs money. You're right.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. I wonder how that came about.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if they just wanted to have a scene for Lindsay Naegle to just have in there.
She doesn't deserve him.
All right, so that was kind of not a great thing. And then we get to Mr. Burns. And what did you think of Smithers tells Mr. Burns he has to leave? He's going to put on his Malibu Stacy musical. What did you think of that?
I liked it. I didn't realize until after, like at some point when we started talking about the show, about 10 minutes ago, and I was like, they do call back to it once where they have one song from the musical. But
Yeah.
that's it. They never bring it back again. So I kind of wish they did a little bit more. That could have been their quote unquote B plot.
Well, here's my.
What do you
know.
want?
I kind
Why
of
bring it up?
disagree with you because I liked it because I love that Smithers has this Malibu Stacy obsession. I think
Yeah.
that's a great like just character quirk.
Right, me
In
too.
addition to his very closeted homosexuality and love of Mr. Burns, he's also
Smithers
into
is
these.
gay?
He's also into these children's toys for little girls.
Yeah.
Or little boys if that's what you think. Yeah, that's fine. I don't care.
I played with my sister had a Barbie rock star band.
Yeah.
Like a tour bus for Barbies.
Okay.
She had a band, I guess. I played the shit out of that thing with my Jurassic Park toys. I made it look like the trailer from Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World.
Nice.
Yeah, so like I would hang it off the sofa and like
You have your Jeff Goldblum.
the
on
Jeff
the back.
Goldblum like trying to like
Must go faster. Must go
Yeah.
faster.
So you can play with dolls. Is my
Yeah,
point.
play with
It's-
dolls.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll play with some dolls after we record this
I mean,
episode.
throw a dinosaur in. And
Yeah, it's fine.
You know,
It's good.
if you're a little insecure like me, but
It's all good. It's all good. It's all fine. I didn't have a sister, so I never got to play. I played Mall Madness at friends' houses with people who had sisters.
clearance at the shoe store.
That's a great game.
It's a great game. I wish they had a man version, so we could have.
Outlet store outrage.
There was sort of a man version of it, the Omega Virus.
Oh, yeah, I remember that game, too.
It was a little. I was obsessed with that game.
Yeah. Was that like a space thing?
Yeah, it would take forever to get into it. It's
Okay.
a great game. I recommend it. I'm surprised they still don't sell it.
Yeah.
I feel like it would still be popular, but whatever.
The Omega Virus. You heard it here. Check it out. But anyway. I have no idea what I was talking. Oh yeah, Smithers and Malibu Stacy. Yeah, I love that that's his character quirk, and I love the idea of him putting on a musical for it. I don't know that we needed to see it. You know, I'm not crazy about the superfluous musical numbers.
Yeah, no, you?
Yeah, when they cut to it, I liked the animation for it and like the set design for
Yeah.
his show, and I even liked the line. I guess he was doing it in New Mexico for some reason.
Yeah.
Which was never explained why.
I think that might be a theater joke. I don't know much about theater world, but I'm
I don't
thinking
know
maybe
either.
if you have a small play and you can't really get it funded, you just have to take it where you can get it. Maybe
Right,
that's
I
the joke.
guess.
I don't know.
Maybe, but I like that he sings this song as the Malibu Stacy equivalent of Ken. on stage, and then it cuts to this New Mexican guy, like a Texan type thing, and he's like, "This is better than a movie." How? I like that because
is he a recurring character? The Southwest Texan guy, is he the one that owns the baseball team, the Albuquerque Isotopes?
Oh, maybe. Because that was from season 12 also.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I feel like I saw him in the
Homers.
Christmas episode from 2 weeks ago when they went to
That could be.
What was the name of the town? Scarsdale?
Scottsdale.
I feel like he was also in that.
Yeah, you could be right.
Yeah, so it's weird that they have a recurring Southwest Texan guy.
So he's probably got a name. He's got a whole episode that we're going to get to at some point.
Lindsay Naegle.
Good old Lindsay Naegle. Loving that Malibu Stacy show.
Simpsons writers, if you need me.
We're available. Bart goes deaf at the science fair. I still think it's a good episode.
We'll throw in Lindsay Naegle.
You get Minzy for half off.
We'll do a superfluous New Mexico scene.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't have that much to say about it. I just didn't love the song.
I agree that it stood out. If Smithers had just left and that was it, we wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah.
Since they did come back, I feel like if they just brought it back one more time, maybe it would have justified the entire diversion. I don't know.
Maybe have Smithers come back at the end of the episode from his play and like end Mr. Burns' prank monkeying, because
that would have been nice.
I did not like
because
the
it did
last act of this episode. I thought was not good.
And it does end abruptly.
Yeah.
Which is okay because they do wrap everything up. But that would have been a nice extra. That beat would have fit.
Yeah, totally. And then he goes back to like, menial pranks with Smithers, or like he does something mean to Smithers and Smithers loves it, or something like that.
I mean, honestly,
character based, and
the more we talk about it, the more I would have liked to see that as an entire B plot.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of like that could have been the last scene, and we could have seen a scene of him doing the stage directions, and just like I feel like there's more to mine out of a Malibu
Smithers
Stacy
directs a musical.
Yeah,
I agree.
The funny sets or whatever they could have came up with. But
that could be a whole episode. Smithers does it in Springfield, and it's kind of like the streetcar episode.
It could totally be its own episode if they could have done it as a B plot, and obviously in an episode that was. They ended abruptly. They had financial planning scenes they didn't need.
Yeah.
They could have devoted a few minutes to it. It could have been a nice, tight B plot, too.
Yeah.
But whatever. It was 12 years ago, 14 years ago.
No one else is thinking about this except us. And you fine listeners.
We're more about the empty nest.
So Joe Azuzu, I forget what his name, David Leisure was on Empty Nest. And, if you remember those commercials.
Yeah, he was the snarky neighbor, big trope back then.
Yes, he was. Anyway, so Smithers is gone, and Homer is drinking beers in the cafeteria, and Mr. Burns wanders in and is looking for someone to kind of keep him entertained, because I guess Smithers entertains him.
Yeah, he was bored.
He's just bored.
We never got the sense that Smithers kept him from being bored.
Yeah, I mean, we've never seen Mr. Burns bored before. Like,
right.
He's a bajillionaire. He shouldn't be bored.
Yeah, whatever. Burns is one of the most inconsistent characters on the show, even in the classic years.
That's true. That's
whatever.
Let's talk about this, though. Mr. Burns' concept of what a prank is a little off.
And
it seems to mostly involve throwing things at someone else.
You're right, because it starts with throwing pudding and ends with throwing fish guts.
Throwing fish guts on the town.
And then... Yeah, so why don't we name them all? So, because there's not that many.
There's four. We just named two of them.
The second one is he eats the first Spider-Man comic, or was it?
Well, okay. So I pointed this out as we were watching this episode as a huge nerd. Homer comes in and asks for Spider-Man #1, and Comic Book Guy gives him Amazing Spider-Man #1.
And those are different.
Very different. Spider-Man #1 came out in 1989. It was the solo book for Todd McFarlane that Marvel made.
So that's the one with Tobey Maguire. And Amazing Spider-Man's the one with James Garfield.
And Andrew Garfield. James Garfield was the president. And regular Garfield hates Mondays. But no, it's the other way around, because Spider-Man came much later. Amazing Spider-Man came out in 1964. This is not relevant at all.
I have a feeling a lot of our listeners probably cross over. If you're a Simpsons nerd, there's probably a decent amount of comic book nerds out there, too.
We'll talk. Worst Spider-Man ever. That's
mostly
coming next week.
empty nest nerds, maybe a couple Spider-Man.
Is there a big cross-section of 80s sitcom fans and like hardcore Spider-Man nerds?
Oh, I'm sure.
All right, well.
This podcast is for you.
The Spider-Men out there love their Empty Nest and Golden Girls. But yeah, anyway.
Isn't Empty Nest the name of a Vulture miniseries?
It's gonna be when we write it. Featuring Lindsay Naegle.
And Joe Azuzu. It's going to be the greatest comic ever.
Yeah, Marvel, if you're listening, we are available.
And we can turn it into a movie starring actual President James Garfield. It's gold, baby.
I love it. Featuring a guest appearance by actual Garfield eating lasagna. Anyway. Yeah, no. So Mr. Burns' idea of pranking is terrible because it's throwing pudding at Lenny, it's throwing fish guts on the town, it's eating Amazing Spider-Man #1 from Comic Book Guy. What did Comic Book Guy deserve?
Yeah.
What does he do to deserve Mr. Burns' wrath?
That was the very second one after the cafeteria scene, and it's like, okay, I get it. You want to leave the power plant, you want to break it out, but there's got to be other characters Burns would make more sense for Burns to relate to that aren't power plant, like. Lovejoy, he has to know. He's been in a few church scenes. There was another one. There's characters he interacts with. You could have had like that Mr. Monopoly guy or his rival.
These folks are pure Baltic Avenue.
The mayor, that would have been funny. Like Comic Book Guy,
I don't think he and Mr. Burns have ever been on the same screen together.
I can't think of two major characters that are farther apart.
Right.
So that was just I guess they just wanted that spider, which I kind of like. I like that.
I like the Spider-Man thing.
I like that Homer's eating it. He could have easily just whipped out a Zippo and just started light on fire. The fact that he was eating Spider-Man #1 was great.
Yeah, and to just point out good animation, when he's actually... First of all, the cover looks exactly like the actual cover for Amazing Spider-Man #1, and Homer's flipping through it, and there were things that I recognized. Like, you could see Gwen Stacy was in there, and the Spider-Man, the Steve Ditko, Spider-Man light. I'm motioning, but no one can see it.
Is it possible that the animators on The Simpsons were also comic book fans?
I'd say there's a good chance.
So as much as we really enjoyed that scene as a whole, it's kind of sad to say that it really didn't make sense. Why would Burns pick specifically on Comic Book Guy?
Yeah.
And then every other prank is on a group of people.
Well, then the only other prank that we didn't talk about yet was he has Homer dress up as a panda and do the Lindy Hop in front of people at the zoo.
Right.
That's not a prank.
Yeah, the idea, he says right at the beginning of the scene that the prank is everybody's so excited to see the panda and they'll be disappointed to find out that it's a guy in a suit.
But there is a real panda there.
There already is a real panda.
Yeah, it's there. It rapes Homer and 5 minutes later.
Yeah, so it really, that just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. I love that it's the Lindy Hop, though, because that's an old man thing that Mr. Burns would know and would want to see.
But, yeah, no, it really doesn't make sense. And then there's one other one we're not mentioning because it's not really a prank. And this is where it's really for the A plot, it's really inconsistent.
Yeah.
It's Homer at the stadium in a diaper going, I'm a baby.
Oh, right. Oh, I totally forgot about that.
Now, that's not a prank on them.
It's just demeaning Homer.
It's just demeaning Homer. I mean, I guess you could say it's like a Candid Camera and Practical Jokers kind of thing. It's like, how would they react to this silly situation? But
it's more just Homer. Is your dignity worth this much money?
Exactly, and that's the thing. This episode is called Homer versus Dignity.
Yeah.
The conflict of the episode, which doesn't show up until very near the end, is whether it's worth him paying. Because
it's really only in that scene, actually.
Until Lisa finds out, there's really no sense that Homer seems a little miserable doing it, but there's no sense that he's like, oh my God, should I really sell my dignity for money?
Okay, let's go back because at first he throws pudding on Lenny, and Homer actually seems to enjoy that, a little too much since Lenny's his good friend.
Yeah,
and Lenny's in a lot of pain.
He laughs along with Burns.
Yeah, so that has nothing to do with Homer's dignity. And then the next one was eating Spider-Man. So that's a weird sentence I never thought I would say. And that Homer seemed fine with that. He's just eating paper. It's not really
it didn't
dignity
seem to be
so much.
attacking Homer. It seemed to be more of a prank on Comic Book Guy seeing it happen.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why he would care because he just sold the comic. He's making $20,000, but whatever.
That's a good point.
I mean, I guess would you're a big Spider-Man fan? Would it hurt you to see if I took out Spider-Man #1 right now? If I was saving it up,
yeah, it would.
And
hurt
I
me.
ate it, you would be like, "Don't do that. That's history."
Yeah, that's history. Don't do it, Jack.
So,
save your Spider-Man #1. I mean, Amazing Spider-Man #1.
Well, you and I.
At least it wasn't Amazing Fantasy 16. Am I right, folks?
Yeah.
This guy knows what I'm talking about. It might be 15, and nerds are getting angry.
So yeah, it's really inconsistent whose jokes are on who, and it's really inconsistent with how what's Homer's feeling. If that's the core of this episode, shouldn't we know what the hell he's thinking during these scenes?
Yeah. Did you see the movie Cheap Thrills by any chance?
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
Came out last year. It's a great movie. It's on Amazon Prime.
I've heard about it.
If you're an Amazon Prime member, and you can be if you go through our website and shop for that.
A rich guy in a bar pays them to do punch.
A rich guy played by David Koechner is basically Mr. Burns in this episode, but it makes more sense. And he keeps paying, increasingly outrageous things like,
Yeah.
would you do it for this much money or this much money? Really good movie.
It sounds like a great idea.
If you like the concept of this episode and want to see it done really, really well, check it out. It's streaming for free if you have Amazon Prime.
Oh, nice.
Just throwing that out there. Great movie.
And if you don't have Amazon Prime,
You can get it through our website.
go to WePodcast.com.
WePodcast.com,
and
click on the Amazon
click-
banner.
and then buy it.
Buy it like you
Don't
normally
go
would.
straight to Amazon.com.
No,
like
no,
a jerk.
no. That's mean. You should redirect your computer. Have it redirect. I don't know. There's a way to do this. Have it redirect to WePodcast.com first.
Please go through all of that effort on our behalf.
Whatever. Just watch Cheap Thrills. It's a good movie, and probably not a lot of people have seen it.
Ooh, look, she's presenting. We thought this would take years to happen. Ping Ping just asked Sim Sim to marry him, and I think she just said yes. Ha! You ain't going nowhere, cutie.
Yeah, it just seems like Mr. Burns is going through a lot of lengths just for these pranks. Because, he's got to make this donation to the zoo, and people have to come. He's got to get this thing just to have a panda do the Lindy Hop.
How much time has passed here?
Yeah, it seemed... But even, okay, from Mr. Burns' perspective, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because how much joy is he really going to get from seeing people be like, no, it was actually a man in a suit?
That's a really good point.
But then even further back, why are the writers making it that way? Like, why have that scene?
Right.
Did they just want to have Homer get raped by a panda?
I
know you don't. Yeah, I'm looking at you like, where are the answers, Jack?
Sorry.
I know you don't have them.
I don't have them.
But it's just, yeah. I mean,
They couldn't come up with better pranks, is what you're saying?
I guess that is what I'm saying. And also, I'm saying, why have Homer get raped by a panda? Like,
All right,
why
so
is
let's
that
talk about
the
that,
centerpiece of your episode?
I have a feeling that's why this episode has been one of our most requested.
Yeah, with just cause too.
I always remember this
terrible.
episode as the Prank Monkey episode. I didn't really remember the panda stuff until I thought about it.
Yeah.
But for most people, this isn't the Prank Monkey episode. It's the
It's
Panda Rape.
It's the Panda Rape episode. Yeah.
Because so Homer is in the suit. The panda comes out. And Homer trips and falls onto a rock, so it looks like he's presenting himself.
Right.
And basically, the bear attacks him and has sex. And they implied that they consummated it. Like
Right, because Homer later says, I'm here hurt and reeking of panda love.
Yeah,
which is gross.
Love meaning semen.
Meaning panda
So
semen. That's
you got that. And
Yep.
then they also, before that, Homer wakes up and the bear's passed out, like in a post-coital scenario.
Yeah.
So it's heavily implied that the bear did have, and I'm not saying he, we're gonna get a little graphic here. If you're
he
listening,
didn't enter Homer, probably.
yeah, if you're listening in the car with your kids, just turn it down for the next 50 seconds. No, he didn't. He might not have.
I mean, I already said it, so he didn't enter Homer's butt.
Right. It's the word butt. But,
Yeah.
maybe he entered the suit. I'm trying to think of the physics of this of a
Yeah,
of a panda having
you know,
sex with a man in a
Look,
panda suit.
we were all teenage boys. Sometimes you don't need to get there to get there.
Right. I'm guessing he got in through the suit somehow, and that's how he got
Yeah.
his love all over Homer.
Yes.
And maybe he filled up the suit somehow.
Yeah.
So in any way, it's awful. It
Right.
doesn't belong in The Simpsons. It's definitely a Family Guy. I could see Peter Griffin being raped
totally.
by a panda.
I'm sure he
Pretty
has.
sure
them.
that was an episode. Yeah.
Yeah, that was episode 3 of
So
Family Guy.
that was their centerpiece. That they and like, I guess it's just like, oh man, what kind of hijinks is Homer gonna get into? It's season 12, and like they thought like the next big thing Homer can do is to get into this crazy slapsticky panda rape scenario.
Yes.
But it was just like, I don't know.
Is that the best you can do, really?
And it's not even now
for
we're
Homer
not-
being in like a prank type
Right.
situation.
And we're not talking. I don't think you either. I'm not talking about this is bad because it's and tasteless because it's rape. Because like obviously, rape is not a funny thing. It shouldn't be a joke in any context in The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And the Mo line is very uncomfortable because it's pro rape.
Right.
But this isn't really. We're not upset at it because it is sillier. It's nowhere near that like serious level of
Right, it's
really-
not like it's not problematic.
Yeah, we're saying rape. It's not really. I mean, it is,
Well,
but it's
because it's
isn't
animals.
Yeah.
So it's like an animal. It's bestiality. It's unwanted bestiality.
unwanted bestiality.
Yeah, that consummates presumably on Homer's back somehow.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not uncomfortable with the rape aspect of this, like we were with the mole line.
It's just gross.
It's just gross. It's not funny.
It's gross. It's not funny. Why are you making me watch this?
Yeah. You know what it reminds me of is the bear scene in Anchorman. There's no sex in that.
Yeah.
But it's, as a guy dealing with animals and falls off the cage. And
Right.
It's
I
very
immediately regret this decision.
So that was a very funny scene, and I feel like it.
Yeah, it could have just been.
There could have been a funny interaction between Homer and this panda.
That was not sexual.
That was not sexual.
Yeah.
Maybe it could have been sexual and funny in another way, but not this way. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just.
No, it didn't work for me. It didn't work for you. It clearly doesn't work. Clearly doesn't work for a lot of people
Yeah.
because it's routinely one of the
everybody
worst
yeah.
episodes ever. Yeah, and so just a little bit more on the whole pranking aspect.
Yeah.
Why does Mr. Burns care so much? Does he like? Homer says he doesn't want to do it, and he's going to play Santa in the parade at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Burns goes out of his way to have this happy Pranksgiving float to, it's like a
built that
pirate ship.
float?
I have no idea. And where did it go after he got off it and went on to the Homer float? It's just gone. But like he went through, Mr. Burns goes through a lot of trouble in a lot of spots in this episode for not that much payoff. And I buy that he's rich and crazy, but I don't buy that he's like, Homer turns him down from being his prank monkey, and Mr. Burns is like, no, I have to have Homer Simpson be my prank monkey. He has $1 million. He could do
pay
whatever he
anybody.
wants. He could get
Barney.
Sideshow Mel to do it.
Barney is always like the guy that just fills in these kinds of things.
I'm sure Barney would do it. And that would have been kind of funny. Maybe you could have Barney becomes the new prank monkey and Homer gets jealous.
He becomes the prank king, the prank monkey king.
They've never done anything like that.
But if we team up, nobody can stop.
That's right.
Not even God can
Man,
stop.
it's summer.
Sure, I am, Bart.
So yeah, I just didn't understand why Mr. Burns is doing this. I get that he wants to be entertained. It's a lot like the movie Cheap Thrills, which I again have no part of. I didn't write it or anything. Just it's a good movie. Check it out.
On Amazon Prime through Wii.
Amazon Prime through Wii.
Through WePodcast.com. There's really like not a lot of. I guess we're making up for 13 episodes and not saying motivation, but there was not a lot of motivation behind behind this.
One good thing. Let's say a good thing about this episode. One thing I really liked was
When it ended.
I loved when it ended. Homer's in the panda suit and he's getting electroshocks from the zookeepers. Did you notice that when he's getting shocked, he gets all like squiggly, and it's kind of like season 1 animation, like from the episode where they go to
The
Dr.
family
Marvin Monroe.
therapy,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting like animated callback. Because I don't think they've done that since.
See, when I saw that, I just assumed that's how they always depict electrocution on the show. But
I
you're
guess
right.
there's just not a lot of
But that's what I'm
electrocution.
gonna say. Maybe they really haven't done it in 12 seasons.
They did it when Lisa was doing "Is My Brother Dumber Than a Hamster?" and Bart reaches for the cupcakes.
But it's just a very enjoyable.
Yeah, it's
to
a nice
look at.
it's nice oh, this is the Simpsons.
Yeah.
That's like a classic.
And
thing.
I did like the line how they were explaining it, where they were electrocuting him. It's like, don't worry, his thick panda or her thick panda hide. It only feels like a tickle. The joke being that it's Homer, so he's getting horribly electrocuted.
Right. And in that scene, we had the rare non-Marge, Selma, or Patty Julie Kavner line.
Oh yeah, that's super rare. Yeah, so I'm trying to think. She does. So Julie Kavner does Marge, Patty, and Selma, and Marge's mother, obviously. She did the Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf lady.
Oh, right,
the
from
Queen
War
of
of
the
the Simpsons.
Hoppies.
No, I'm not.
She's probably done I can't think. What other one-line side characters has she done? Can you think of any? It's very rare.
It's very rare for her to not just be Marge.
Like, it's usually Hank Azaria, Harry Shearer, or Dan Castellaneta.
Yeah.
Sometimes Nancy Cartwright. I've noticed in the seasons that we're covering here, they have a lot more supporting voice cast members than they used to. It used to just be that core group. Now they have several others. I don't think she really does many, and I'm guessing it's because Julie Kavner's a genius. She's
she's
brilliant,
fantastic.
brilliant voice actress.
We're big Marge fans,
Big
as
Marge
you know if
fans.
you've listened to any of the prior
She
episodes.
can deliver a line with the best of them, but she can't really alter her voice too much. It is amazing what she does with Patty and Selma, but you can still tell it's a Bouvier.
She's got a very unique voice.
Right.
Julie
So
Kavner,
I'm guessing that's why they don't use her as much. But it's kind of a shame because she's just so funny. She plays the zookeeper for one line. And we didn't even look it up. We just assuming it's her because that voice.
I mean, she has a unique voice.
But it was I can't remember what the line is now, but it was really funny. It was a great delivery. And it just goes to show that like Julie Kavner is great. And I'm guessing they don't use her because you don't want people going, oh, that's Marge.
Right.
Although every once in a while there's a Lisa voice or a Bart voice that's too similar. But anyway, it would be nice to see her once in a while do something like that because it turns out to be a really funny one-liner, new like a side character, minor character, whatever you call that.
Yeah. Basically, if Simpsons writers are listening, what we want is an all-Marge episode that only Julie Kavner does the voice in. There's no singing. There's no gay jokes. She's not sexualized.
Julie Kavner's famous, as funny as we know our 80s and 90s sitcoms, were a little lackluster in the 70s. She's famous for being in, was it Valerie or Maude? One of those.
I don't remember.
I want to say Rhoda. I think it was Rhoda.
I think she might have been on Rhoda,
Or was Rhoda.
No, she's not Rhoda.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's where she broke out.
Yeah.
But the one time I've ever seen her outside of The Simpsons is she was Woody Allen's love interest in, I think it was New York Stories, which was a short film.
Okay.
It was just like Scorsese, Coppola, and Woody Allen each did a New York film.
Right.
I think that's the Woody Allen film she plays the love interest in. And it was so much fun to just like see her in person. I mean, again, I guess if you've watched Rhoda, then you've gotten plenty of Julie Kavner. But since for me, that was like the one time I got to see her. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's on Amazon Prime. But,
it might be. You want to stream all
one way to find out.
You're listening to the Kavner cast, all Kavner all the time. Well, obviously she was on, just one more Julie Kavner thing, she was on the Tracy Ullman Show.
Oh, okay. I've never watched the Tracy Ullman Show. You know?
What?
I know. Oh, shit.
You didn't watch it back in the day?
Did I just lose my co-host job?
Okay, my earliest memory is watching the Tracy Ullman Show with my family for the Simpsons shorts.
No, I didn't start watching The Simpsons until it was season 1.
Wow, okay,
yeah. And even then,
that's nuts. Yeah, her and Dan Castellaneta were on. They were both, it was a sketch show, and they were both players.
And that's how they got the Simpsons.
And that's how they got into it.
All right.
So,
well, there you go.
To anyone who says we don't do our research,
well,
there's some backstory.
New York Stories came out probably that same time, in the late 80s. So,
okay, yeah. Makes sense.
Nice little period for her. But yeah, so it was just nice to see her do it. It was nice. It was startling. It was rare to see that.
Which is probably why they don't do it.
Right. But it was great. She was really funny. It was one of the best lines of the episode that we can't remember.
Yeah, right, exactly. So the episode ends in this parade, and a couple of things I did like. I liked that they had the knockoff like B and C list characters as the floats. They had Funky Winkerbean.
That's great.
Which is great.
Because they always do those comic strip.
Yeah,
comics.
like Mary Worth references.
That too. I was talking about how like the Macy's parade does that. Like most of their floats, if you think about it, are comic strips.
They have like Peanuts,
like,
and
even Spider-Man.
We're
assuming it's because of the comic book, but really he was more popular at the time in the strip.
Yeah.
The Funky Winkerbean was a great gag. Rusty the Clown.
I liked Rusty the Clown a lot. Obviously a knockoff of Rusty the Clown. Do you know
the background, the little trivia there?
No.
So Krusty the Clown is named after Rusty Nails, who was the children's clown that Matt Groening watched as a kid in Portland.
Oh. So Rusty Nails is a terrifying name for a clown.
That was the joke. So Krusty is like not a very fun name either if you think about it.
Yeah.
We're so used to it now, but so it's kind of funny that it came full circle. It went from Rusty to Krusty to Rusty.
See, when I saw that, I knew it was a joke on Krusty, and then I wondered, like, in the 14 years since, have they ever had, like, Rusty the Clown be on the show?
I would love that.
They've already animated him.
It wasn't even just the red hair, just that silly face with the teeth. It's like a Skinny Pete kind of funny animation.
Right, Handsome Pete.
Handsome Pete. Who's Skinny Pete?
Skinny Pete is from Breaking Bad. That's from our Breaking Bad podcast. I can't think of a funny name for it.
I would love if Skinny Pete and who's the other one? Beaver?
Skinny
Badger?
Pete. Badger, yes.
I'm not good with names.
Apparently not.
Lindsay Naegle and Badger and...
So Minzy Major and Bagger. Bagel?
Cut all this.
Yeah, this is definitely getting cut.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Also, I don't remember who Lisa Gibbons is. Do you?
Yeah.
She had a talk show, didn't she?
She did. I think she was on either Entertainment Tonight or Access Hollywood. One of those.
Oh, yeah. I think she was on Access Hollywood.
And her guest spot didn't entirely irritate me here, especially because this was the era of horrible guest spots.
It was fine.
It made sense that she would be doing the parade.
It was dated because, like I said, I don't remember who she is.
She wasn't funny.
No,
the one
really.
joke was Kent Brockman says, do you like gingerbread? And she goes, no. And, well, then you'll love this gingerbread float. And
right.
That was the joke. It's like, all right. I mean, that could have easily been Tress MacNeille or Julie Kavner.
Kent Brockman also had a great line when he was like, "Oh, whether you're Christian or just non-Jewish, everyone loves Santa Claus."
that was a little got a little kick to it.
Yeah,
it was nice.
Some bite to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this whole ending didn't do it for me.
So Cossington's is their Macy's, I guess.
Right.
And they threw the parade.
Yes.
That guy was there again.
Yep. Frank Nelson is the actor that guy's based off of. Like, Edward G. Robinson inspired Chief Wiggum. That guy
It's
inspired
funny
that
that
guy.
when I first saw that character, I knew, like, I'd never heard of Frank Nelson.
Yeah.
And but I knew that there is a Frank, like, I knew that guy exists in real life, but I don't know what I've seen of him.
We're talking about 70s and 80s sitcoms a lot today, but there's a YouTube, like, supercut that's pretty funny, I guess. It's worth watching for a historical reference. Like, he was on Sanford and Son, and he just comes in, and this was his shtick. He did this on a bunch of sitcoms, and they'd be like, "Excuse me," and he would be, "Yes." And it's basically
That's
just exactly it. Yeah.
So I thought the joke was like, "Hey, we brought this character."
No, and
back,
he just
but
like talks like that.
it.
That's the joke. They just basically have this guy on the show.
Good for that guy that he made a
career out of that.
Out of saying yes.
Good for him.
Well, anyway, I knew he was a guy. It's funny. It must just be through like cultural osmosis that I knew that was a guy, even though I can't think of one thing I've seen him in.
I'm sure you've seen him
He was
in like
probably an Empty
episode of-
Nest.
It was
Yeah.
probably on Empty Nest. Yeah, that must have been what it was.
It's like, excuse me, are you the pediatrician?
Yes.
Wait, no, that doesn't make sense. He would be not the. Richard Mulligan was the pediatrician. But anyway. No. But anyway, what I was saying is Mr. Cossington was in the episode 2 weeks ago that we watched. The Christmas
Christmas
episode.
one, the Grumple.
And it was just a completely different voice. And they do that sometimes.
Yeah.
Just pointing it out.
Yeah,
Didn't think it was going to turn into a 5-minute tangent.
No.
about Frank Nelson and Empty Nest.
Going back to
spec
Empty
fiction.
Nest, yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Mr. Costington is anyone's favorite character.
there's got to be one
They
person
can play
out there.
if you really love Mr. Costington, please write in and let us know. WePodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, the end didn't work for me. The whole parade, it just seemed silly. Like, why have it be at a parade? We talked about this.
You thought the
already,
panda bear was going to be the climax. You were surprised that was Act
Well,
2.
yeah, I mean, I hadn't seen this episode in a long time, and when we got to the panda thing, I really remember that being the end of the episode. And I
Right.
totally forgot about the parade and fish guts. Fish guts are really a horrible thing to throw on people.
Yeah.
that's very cruel.
It's really disgusting.
Yeah.
You think like Homer not only would have not done it, but stopped Mr. Burns from doing it, or
Well, yeah.
warned his family to get out of the way.
Very good. All good points. This episode ends really abruptly. Homer is talking to Lisa, and Lisa's like, "Oh, you have your dignity." So Homer rejects Mr. Burns' $1 million offer to instead of throwing treats because he's Santa in the parade, he's going to throw fish guts.
Right.
And Homer turns him down, and ultimately Mr. Burns just does it himself. And so it just ends with like Homer being like, I still got my dignity, and it just ends.
No.
I thought that was really weird and abrupt. I kind of half expected at least Bart, maybe not Marge, but Bart to be like, "You turned down $1 million?
Yeah.
Like, your dignity's not worth $1 million."
We both turned to each other on the couch, and we were
Yeah.
like, we would totally have just thrown fish on people.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
$1 million.
fish, it's horrible, but, you know,
We needs the monies.
I could use $1 million.
Go to Amazon.com through
Seriously,
weedpodcast.com.
buy $1 million thing on Amazon.
No, you're totally right. I don't mind abrupt endings if it wraps everything up. You don't really need the little coda. Like remember Dreamcatcher, the movie?
Yeah, the Stephen King movie.
That ends very suddenly, where
Yeah.
it ends like a second after the monster dies, where it's like the monster dies, so really the movie doesn't need to continue anymore. It's like, are you okay? Yeah. Movie ends.
Right,
and
right.
I like it if you have everything wrapped up, you don't really need the 5 minutes of wrap up where it's like, so what are you doing later? You know, maybe you know, the start of a beautiful friendship. You know, stuff like that.
Right.
I don't mind that from time to time, but I think it doesn't work here because we really didn't get any satisfaction out of the story. Because you have such a great conflict. Like, you know, drama is conflict. The conflict is in the title. We're versus dignity.
Yeah.
We're fighting for his soul. It's a great idea. How much money are you willing to take? You know, because we were like, yeah, we'd do it for $1 million.
Yeah.
So that's a great moral dilemma. Like,
You really need to watch Cheap Thrills, by the way.
Okay, I will. But so yeah, it's a great moral dilemma, and they do nothing with it. Like you
Right, they
said,
do nothing
like
with it.
half the pranks he doesn't give a shit.
Right.
And then they don't really bring up the conflict until Lisa sees him after the whole panda thing.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of like they really just didn't do anything with it, and that's what's really frustrating about this episode. Not the panda rape, but
Yeah.
the lack of respect to what could have been a great story.
Plus, the beginning of the episode is Homer needs money. And Homer presumably got some money in the pranks that he did accomplish, but
Yeah.
at the end, he still needs money.
Yeah,
like, they didn't
the
resolve
car
it.
needs a back seat.
Yeah. It's just like, well, I still have my dignity. He had his dignity at the beginning. It's like he lost something and then got it back.
Exactly, and I don't want to go too much more into it because we're just kind of talking around it. But
Yeah.
I think that's because we're not really succinct guys.
No,
But,
sorry.
But B, it's hard to pin down what the problem is here because it really is just all over the place.
Yeah.
It doesn't know where, is it about dignity or is it about money or is it about pranks or,
Yeah, it's one A plot, but that A plot is not very tight. It's very
it's like
A to Z to C to Q instead of A to B to
It's like
C.
a web of Spider-Man.
Exactly. That's a completely different comic book, by the way, Web of Spider-Man.
Is that an actual comic?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Web of Spider-Man. I think it was like an anthology series where different creative teams would write little stories about Spider-Man, much in the vein of Legends of the Dark Knight was the
All
Batman
right.
equivalent.
That was just me saying Web of Spider-Man.
Let's talk more. There was also X-Men Unlimited, which was the X-Men version of that.
Just very disappointed that this episode had a really great core idea, and instead of doing a core idea, it did Web of Spider-Man.
Right. Yes.
Can
Or
that
Web
be
of
our
Spider-Man.
new shorthand for just a plot that explodes?
If it's all
into
over
a
the place,
million-
yeah, we're just going to say it's a Web of Spider-Man.
which is an actual comic.
Which was the problem in Amazing Spider-Man 2. I don't know if you saw that, but that was all over the place, and that was a piece of garbage, that
They should
movie.
have just ate that comic. Oh, the movie.
The movie, no, yeah,
the movie
No,
was nice.
issue 2 of Amazing Spider-Man is a classic. Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, it's a timeless.
So if I ate the movie Amazing Spider-Man 2, it wouldn't be that big a deal.
Not at all. No one needed to see Jamie Foxx hamming it up as Electro. Anyway, we'll talk about that another day. On another drunk podcast, we can talk about ranking the Spider-Man
They're all
movies.
drunk podcasts.
The doctor said I could take this patch off 5 minutes a day.
Hey, that's just enough time to see Santa Claus.
Ah! Why, Santa, why? Oh no, here come the gulls.
Nice birdie. No, not so nice.
I think we're done talking about this episode. Do you have anything else to say?
I wish I could better hone in on how they screwed up, but it really is just there's just lots of little things. So no, we're done.
All right, we're gonna call it. So the only thing we have left to do here is to rank this episode in our master ranking of all of the episodes. We're going from worst to least worst is how I've now phrased it on the new website.
That's great. What's worst?
Worst right now is Lisa Goes Gaga. It's a tough one to beat. And our least worst is Pokemon, which is a season mate of this episode.
Yeah,
so they're
very
both season
similar.
12.
Okay, so let's break it down. And do you think it would be top 6 or bottom 6 at this point? Worst 6 or least worst 6?
I think you really didn't like this episode, but I would probably put it in the least worst 6. I think this episode had a lot of good jokes.
So number 6, right smack in the middle of our list, is Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Where Grandpa marries Selma. So you would say that this episode is better or worse than that?
That's tough. That is tough. I
don't like any of these episodes.
Yeah.
Here's the problem.
They're all blurring together.
I
too.
really, we usually, there's something about an episode where we go, it wasn't that bad, but there was something very specific that really just loses a lot of points, whether it's elves or
Panda Rape.
Panda Rape. So
gay horse mating.
So this
that makes no
episode,
sense.
this episode's got the Panda Rape, it's got the Mo Rape joke, and it's got to me, the biggest crime is the waste of potential. But besides that, there was a lot to like. Again, it's a season 12 episode, but I'll say this. Season 12, Pokemon, I still think is by far the best we've seen so far, and I don't even think it's close to Pokemon.
I didn't like Pokemon as much as you did.
I know.
I think this episode was worse, though. So
Okay.
I don't think it goes below Pokemon for sure. I think it goes below Bart Mangled Banner.
Okay, I was going to say, I think it's also worse than Bart Mangled Banner. Do you think it's worse than Kill Gill?
I do think it's worse than Kill Gill.
Yeah, I can get behind that. Do you think it's worse than that 90s show?
You know what? I do think it's worse than that 90s show.
Okay, I agree.
But I think I might leave it there.
I feel like we're playing Cliffhanger with on Price is Right. When's it going to stop? So you think this episode is better than that Halloween episode?
Yes, because there are things in this episode that I still remember 14 years later. And that Halloween episode is, I couldn't pay me. Right. I remember vaguely there was a Hitchcock thing and that stupid thing where it was a play, but it wasn't.
I mean, it's really hard to do this because it's all
and
apples
a zombie
and
one. That was it. I gotta remember it all.
Right. It's apples and oranges. I really hated that Halloween episode, but it was just really bland. Whereas this one, I think the crime of the episode is much bigger than the Halloween episode. But I really don't like saying that this episode is worse than that with the Halloween episode because the Halloween episode was so aggressively bland.
Think about it this way: if you're going to show someone who's never seen The Simpsons an episode, would it be better to show them this episode or better to show them that Halloween episode?
It's not fair to do that because it's a Halloween episode, but I see where you're going. I will agree with you. For now,
this is just
think
more.
Yeah.
Panda Rape aside, and the problematic plotting and all the things we've talked about for the past hour.
You could say Panda Rape aside, but the actual act of putting the Panda Rape aside. I don't think this is worse than Pennywise, guys. I really think that episode was not good. All right, I'll go with.
If you want to say Romeo Old is better, I could get on board with that.
All right, I don't want to say that this was. I don't know. I don't like.
Where are you thinking? Okay,
I'm thinking
me out of it. Where do you think it goes?
I think it belongs on one side of Treehouse of Horror 20. I don't know which side. You're saying it was better than Treehouse of Horror 20.
Yeah.
Half of me completely agrees with you.
I'm saying it's less good.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's less worse.
Yeah.
Less worse. Yeah.
Not confusing at all. Like I'm torn. I really think that half of this episode, like half of me. And half of the episode, and you, and half. And this.
I'm me. All right, you know what? We'll put it below. We'll put it below Treehouse of Horror, just so you stop having a crisis here.
No,
that's fine with me.
Below, as in it's better, or
as in
worse?
It's worse. Then this is what you were just arguing. This is what you wanted.
I'm arguing both. I don't know.
Oh boy.
What you more strongly feel that it belongs better.
I don't care anymore. I think that's the right spot on our list.
Okay,
it needs to be around Treehouse of Horror 20.
I really don't know which side. Just go with whatever. All right.
I'm gonna put it below that '90s show.
I think it should be.
Wait,
above
that '90s show sucks. That episode's not good.
I know. All right.
Maybe it is just below Kill Gill.
But no, I don't want to put that high up because of the Panda Rape.
Should we cut this and just start over?
Well, I think. I'm happy if you put it between that '90s show and Treehouse of Horror 20. Is that
okay? That's where we'll go.
I can live with that.
Done.
All right, man. You should see me rank the Empty Nest episodes. It takes forever.
Well, good luck, listeners. We're going to talk nothing but Empty Nest for the next 9 hours. It's right here.
If you do want to listen, there's a way to do it. You just dial my phone and
call Jack
unlimited Empty Nest conversation. What kind of breed was Dreyfus? Does it matter what kind it was? He, there's lots of unanswered questions.
What kind of breed was Dreyfus, Jack?
I don't know. Irish setter. I don't know. What happened to the youngest daughter? Why didn't they reference her until season 6? Things like that.
I think it's time to wrap this episode up. So we've ranked that episode. I think that's all we've got. If you have a new episode, a terrible Simpsons episode you want to suggest for us, you can do that on Twitter. We're at Worst Episode Pod. You can do that at Facebook, facebook.com/WePodcast. And you can email it to us at worstepisodepod@gmail.com. We've got a lot about, if you want to talk more about Empty Nest, you can also email us there.
Well, if you want to talk about it to me in person, I will be at Simpsons Trivia tomorrow night if you're listening to this the day it airs.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, so January 8th is the next Simpsons Trivia. If you're in the Brooklyn area, it's at Berry Park in Brooklyn. You can just Google Woohoo Classic Simpsons Trivia, and you'll find the pertinent details. There's also trivia nights in Chicago and Toronto and possibly other nights in other cities.
And if you can't make it January 8th, there'll be another one, 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's the first Thursday of every month. Man, I forgot for a second.
So
first Thursday of every month, yeah.
Come talk to me in person about Empty Nest. It'll be cool.
Yeah, come hang out. It's a lot of fun. It is a good time. I co-host that with friend of the show, Dan Ozzie. Mm-hmm. And check out our website again, wepodcast.com. Please click through on the Amazon thing. It really helps us out. And review us on iTunes. Review us on Stitcher. We still only have one Stitcher review, and it's mine. So... Maybe we should leave it that way. I don't know. Maybe don't review us on Stitcher. No one listens to Stitcher anyway. No, maybe Stitcher's listening to this.
I'm still not quite sure what Stitcher is.
Stitcher's like iTunes for people who don't have iTunes.
Right, if you say so.
All right, whatever. We will be back next week. We have a new contender for worst episode ever, and
it's Bonfire of the Manatees, the Alec Baldwin episode.
I wrote it down. I don't know where it went. It's Bonfire of the Manatees, the Alec Baldwin episode.
It's one of the Alec Baldwin episodes.
Yes, one of the many in the Alec Baldwin. I think it was a
season premiere.
In the Alec Baldwin quadrilogy of episodes. It is, the first episode of season 17, so we'll be watching that a week from today if you're listening to this when it comes out.
Check it out and join us next time.
Yeah, watch it on SimpsonsWorld.com, and we'll be back with more empty nest talk and Simpsons buffoonery.
First new episode of the year, episode 13. Still haven't found the best way to end an episode.
No, we really
succinctly.
haven't.
So, yeah.
Well, maybe we just end.
Sold separately. Sometimes I feel like I've been sold separately. But out of the box I find you posable. Just like me. This is better than a movie. Why?